Since I forgot to mention this in my DVD Blu-ray video, I've got Underworld Awakening on Blu-ray now, and on the rewatch, it was actually better, but it's still the worst of the series. So, I just finished watching Underworld Blood Wars, and what did I think about it? Yeah, this movie got the film series back on track, because after Awakening, it really did need a step up, and this movie did a lot of things correctly. It had the dark, moody atmosphere that was lacking in Underworld Awakening. The villains behaved a little bit better, even though they were, kind of wooden, and how actually there was more problems with the vampires rather than with the werewolves, it seemed. But that's not entirely a bad thing, because I think at the end of Underworld Evolution, I was kind of expecting this kind of thing to happen. I don't know. I can't really remember what I said in that particular video. I should probably go and check it out. Yeah, but also I felt a lot more for the main characters here. It felt like, they actually had a chance for making better decisions, and, it just felt like the first two a lot more, and I was really glad about that. And also, they were able to pull a couple of strings, like from Underworld Evolution, and like in that movie, show there's actually more connections to events that happened in prior movies or well before the movies that actually mean something, and that was nice to see. It really was. It was actually really easy for me to get through this movie, and I was real glad to see that. And the way that everything was resolved, even though it's a little cheesy and probably a little easier than it should have been, they did good with it, and really, they could have actually, I think, seriously ended the series with this movie, even though I know for a fact they are planning a sixth one, and it's interesting to see how Kate Beckinsale is announced to be reprising her role before Theo Jones this time, or was it James? Because, for this particular movie, it was announced that he was coming back before her, so that's kind of amusing if you ask me. But yeah, I was ultimately satisfied with this movie, even though I can spend more time talking about the issues with it than the things that I do like, and I'm beginning to think that this series is kind of like the Fast and the Furious series, because it's a series that pretty much you only like because you don't really have high expectations, and you're either a fan of it or you're not. Really, it's that simple, even though fans will, rank the movies or state their interest in it. And also, you can definitely tell that the series has changed over time, because the first two movies kind of resemble, the racing segments from Fast and Furious. This movie and Awakening represent, the heist movies that were 4 through 7. Yeah, so I think you get the idea with it. I'm trying to treat it that way, even though I think I rank those movies over this due to their ensemble cast, although that's probably not going to help it that much longer. I don't know. Because I bet when I rewatch those movies, I'm not going to have as good of an opinion of them. Whatever, that's what happens in life, yeah. So anything else to bring up? Oh yeah, and it was also, this movie justified something in my mind that, when they killed off Celine, for a little bit, even though they left a good amount of implication that she could return, so I wasn't too surprised that she did, it justified in my mind the importance of David, because even in Awakening, I felt like this guy meant more than just your typical character that was going to be occurring in that movie, because they wouldn't just give any other vampire, the ability to survive in the sunlight. So, having him return definitely gave the idea that theoretically they could actually pass the torch of lead actor in this film series to him if they decide to fully kill Celine off, albeit not for long, because after the movie, if this was to happen, that Celine would die, that would pretty much be it. But that would make sense, her giving her life, to finally ease the conflict both within the vampires and then with vampires and werewolves, even though it seems pretty obvious that the werewolves are always going to be the bad guys, along with one other thing which I'll get to in a bit. But yeah, I really hope they continue using his character and don't completely toss out the idea of possibly passing the torch on to him or possibly Kate Beckinsale, Celine's daughter, Theoretically, those two could, do something. And not like that, but I think you know what I mean, right? That was such a bad choice of words, yeah. And I think that's about all I can say about liking this movie, other than I did enjoy the various slight humorous moments that this movie had. Reminded me of a couple of things that happened in prior ones. So, things that I don't like about this movie. Okay. Dislike number one is the revelation of events that took place in prior movies. Now, I did say that I liked it. Okay, because that does give things more importance in the past, yes, but here's the problem. They do it way too quickly, so the emotional impact in our minds is lessened because we just barely have enough time, to figure it out. It's like, seeing a bunch of text go scrolling right by your eyes and you don't have the ability to rewind, so you gotta read it and then try and figure out the main idea as you go. That's not exactly easy. Now, sure, I have the ability to rewind, so to speak, but they definitely should have made it a little bit more impactful, like, learning that Michael's dead, Theo's the son of the Elder. That would happen way too quickly, and then when the traitor vampire kills the female vampire that's in love, with the main villain of the movie, I think that death scene should have been a little better, but it's just done way too quick. Really? So yeah, that got to me. And also, they give a couple of characters in this movie an air that they're probably going to matter, but it turns out they don't matter as much. The main examples being that god that originally, nicked Celine with the poison, and then that, for lack of a better term, North Pole vampire that shows Celine the ability, to submerge and then go into that other world bit of existence, I feel like those characters could have been a little more used than they were. Now, that's not to say that they weren't used, they were, but just ultimately how it turned out, it didn't really live up to the lingering shots that they got. It just wasn't justified enough in my mind. Now, I don't know what I was expecting, because as I think I've tried to state multiple times, I'm someone who doesn't really have that many expectations, but basically it was just, I guess I thought the movie was going to be leading us down a particular route, and they decided not to do it. Odd. And then the last big dislike that I've got is that thing that I think I mentioned earlier in this video, Michael's death. Because here's the thing, at the end of Awakening here, Celine has a vision from someone who really can only be Michael running up to the top of the laboratory building and like jumping off of it. But this movie indicates that Michael's dead. So, how is it that she can have telepathic links with the villain in this movie, and then why didn't it happen more over the course of this particular movie? Now, theoretically, distance could be a factor, but I just don't buy that, to be honest with you. I really don't. So yeah, that's a big continuity error that needs to be justified, even though I'm sure that if you read into these blood passing on bits, there'll be other errors than that, yeah. So as I said, I think I can come up with more complaints or nitpicks for this movie than positives, but it was nice to see the series get more back on track. What am I going to give it? Probably free critique and personal, probably like in the barrier between 3 and 4, because like I'm trying to avoid doing like half-star ratings on this channel. And also, sometimes I can't necessarily give a firm rating, but since I went with free critique, I think that should satisfy you. Not the best video, but it was tough for me to talk about the others, so why would this be any different? See ya.